Hey everyone, welcome back to our new video series, Getting Off the Table, where we bring a lot of fun ideas to help your players leave the table as part of your RPG campaign, just to add some fun. Today, we're making hidden message medallions. Inside these medallions is a hidden message that I placed inside while I made them. Suppose your players were charged with delivering a copper medallion to a hermit alchemist way up in the mountains. They go through all kinds of challenges and obstacles, overcoming them all to make the delivery. They finally give the delivery because they know that this medallion somehow has the key to a potion that will help save the queen. Now there's markings on it and they've tried to translate it. They haven't been able to figure anything out of how to use it, so they might just figure, well, maybe this is just a cool prop that they can hold on to while they're playing. Then, at the end, you allow them to break it open, and they find out that inside was the secret ingredient to the potion the whole time. They have that aha moment, not just when you hand them the medallion and you get a chance to enjoy it while they're playing, but they also get it at the end as a reward when they get to break it open, because hey, who doesn't like to break things open? For example, inside I put the last word of a forbidden spell. It says Lectario. I'll show you how to do it. Let's start with what you'll need. A sheet of parchment paper or thick aluminum foil, some drying modeling clay. I'm using Sculpey brand that I got for a few bucks at the craft store. A rolling pin or something to flatten the clay as thin as you can get it. Something that will act as a round cookie cutter or whatever shape you're wanting your medallions to be in. You'll need to make sure that the two pieces are identical, so choose wisely. Something to embellish or carve into the clay with. I'm using some rubber stamps that I have, some steampunk, compass roses, and some Egyptian motifs. Later on, you'll also need a small piece of coarse sandpaper, a paintbrush, and basic acrylic paint, assuming you're going to paint your medallion, and some basic white glue. Finally, you'll need a small piece of paper to place inside your medallion with your hidden message. First, I worked the clay in my hands a bit to soften it up. Then, I placed it inside a folded piece of baking parchment paper and began to flatten it with a rolling pin. I worked the pin from the center to the outer edge so the center wouldn't be thicker than the rest of the clay. I peeled the clay off the parchment and cut out my two circles from a couple common items I found in my home. In this case, a glass and a toilet paper roll. You only need two circles to make your medallion. I knew I wanted to make a couple different ones, so I doubled up and made 4. I then thinned out the edges of each circle with my fingers, knowing that each pair would need to be glued together eventually. Thinning the edges at this stage will save time later when I'm sanding. Now it's time to embellish the medallions. Because I didn't have a specific campaign in mind when I created the 2 samples for this video, I chose to take the easy route and use a rubber stamp for each. I chose a steampunk gears stamp for my larger one and an Egyptian ankh for the smaller. Now, a quick tip for making things older when using clay. Now, if you've ever seen a coin that was really old, like 80, 100 years old, you notice that most of the definition from the impression is smoothed over just from handling. It's not just like gone, it's actually smoothed over. So, when I made these 2 medallions, I didn't press as hard into the clay. Maybe you want a medallion that looks new, that's part of your campaign, that's great. Mine, I wanted them to look extremely old. So yes, I pressed into it, but not completely, so that you could still see much of the impression, but not 100% of it. That way, it looks just that much older, because you can distress it so that it looks old. But if the impression is too clean and too crisp, it doesn't look right. You want them to match, to where if you're painting it and washing it to look old, then you also want the impression to be somewhat smoothed over. Next, I placed my small pieces of paper with the messages on the backs of one of each of the medallion halves and outlined each piece with super glue. I then pressed the two sides together, back to back, until the glue was set, making sure to line up the two halves as perfectly as I could. Once the glue was set, I rolled the medallions on some coarse sandpaper to smooth out the edges so that no single half stuck out more than the other. I wanted the outer rim to be flush. I then took some white glue and mixed it with some black paint and filled in the gaps where the two halves met. I apologize that I didn't know my camera moved, so you can't really see exactly what I'm doing. Just know that I'm using a paintbrush to dab in the black glue mixture into the crevices so that it had a nice smooth edge all around the outside of the medallion. Once the glue dried, I did it once more to fill in any tiny gaps that I might have missed. Then, one final quick sanding for smoothness and the medallions were built. Now the fun part, painting them. For the steampunk gears, I chose a metallic copper paint, despite how the video picked up the color. I'm not sure why it came out so orange on the video. At any rate, it's a beautiful bright copper, like a brand new copper pot. The ankh I painted gold. I gave them 2 coats until they looked the way I wanted. I then took a light wash of water and black acrylic paint and lightly brushed the surfaces, allowing the painty water to settle in the impressions of the stamp, making them more visible while also giving it a more aged quality, which was, again, my overall goal. The ankh was finished, but I wanted to add more detail to my copper medallion, some patina. I took some patina-colored acrylic paint and watered it down before putting it inside a dollar store spray bottle. After a couple spritzes, it looked perfect. So, now what kinds of things can you put inside these? Really anything that'll fit. Obviously, the bulkier it is, the thicker you'd have to make your medallion. That's why I use just a single sheet of paper. So there's virtually nothing inside that has any kind of thickness. Also too, although I used stamps to embellish my medallion, you can use anything you want. You can carve your own writing into it, images that you know, really anything for your campaign. Also too, because there's something inside that they need, you can put something on the outside that's misleading. Something they'll think, oh, the medallion, we're supposed to use it for this. This is part of a map, or I can see there's some writing on it. Maybe they may try to translate it, and all that could just be red herring, because what they really need is what's inside. A final note is, I know it's going to be difficult because you're going to want to elude the fact that something could be inside, or here, hold this, the secret's inside. I would personally, I would strongly suggest that you don't give away any of that. They will enjoy it so much more when they realize later on that there was something inside. Otherwise, they may guess too early. It'll be very anticlimactic. Unless that's a part of your story, of course, work that in. But in most cases, I would strongly suggest allow them just to enjoy the medallion and feel like, oh, this is fun, and they're holding on to it, never realizing the whole time that the key piece of information that they need is inside. And that way, when they do find out, it's a surprise, and it's a great surprise. It's a fun surprise. They have that aha moment in your campaign that you've patiently waited for. All right, everyone. Well, that is it for this video. If you found this fun and interesting, consider liking and subscribing. More videos are always coming out. We're looking forward to sharing new and fun ways to help your players get off the table and bringing the real world into your RPG campaigns. Take care, everyone.